Down south in North Carolina, the APT-E is being readied for some sort of test run on the mountain as the sun rises. Princess Arthur and the Standard 4 are asked to fill in for the APT-E's usual service today. Gadwall asks Mallard why they were not asked to fill in. Spot begins his morning rounds as Gord speaks of the wonders of a classless system in which no one is powerful, all needs are met, and everyone works for the collective. Chadson laughs. Clearly, this is not a communist. Chadson begins his rounds and finds Bob laying on his back. Chadson says, "Aw, Bob wants a belly rub." Ferry Battle has been reassembled correctly at last and has found the German's beer wagon, which was set out to comply with Dippity's orders. The German arrives in Salisbury and yells, "Perfekt von meinem Bier!" Ferry Battle takes off, with a slightly redder than usual German logo on his tail. The Ivatt Mogul is giving the yard goat a hand with switching the yard. The crazy county class says something about the old Welsh proverb about how scrambling things too much can ruin the hummus, which attracts dragons. The Ivatt Mogul would like to once, just once, meet a sane Great Western engine. A Great Western Hall-class locomotive named Sketty Hall arrives with a goods train and asks the Ivatt Mogul which track the train should be left on. The Ivatt Mogul says to leave it on track 3. The Ivatt is suspicious. The J-50 enters the yard and warns that the fire marshal is coming. The L1 heads for Ye Old Fortress, but is cut off at the junction by the APT-E heading up the mountain on her test run. Annoying as it is, the APT-E runs a little faster, so the L1 expects no further delays. Super Trooper is staked out at the junction as the T1 tries one more time to get the record on his way to traffic court. Super Trooper is going to be very interested in telling the judge about this. Lion has traveled all the way to Asheville in search of her wagons, and has found them. There's just one problem. How does she get them down? The Pennsylvania Railroad K4 comes into town and sees the crazy county class in Reading paint. The K4 says, "If I ever again run into that relative of yours painted for the Pennsy, I will take him back home to Pennsylvania and bury him in a highway embankment." The K4 pulls under the coaling tower to fill up. Mallard says, "Pennsylvania. That would be a good place to bury an engine under a highway." The K4 asks how Mallard would know. Mallard says that he and Scotsman visited Pennsylvania a little while ago. Scotsman tries to shush Mallard, but it's too late. The K4 is aghast. His sons went to Pennsylvania without their papa? The J-50 is hiding from the fire marshal bus in the yard. That's not the fire marshal bus. That's the fire marshal bus. The L1 arrives in Clinch Cross, but is routed into a siding. So much for not being held up by the test train. Sketty Hall has been serviced and is ready to take another train. She asks the Ivatt Mogul if there's a train that needs to go. The Ivatt points Sketty Hall to a set of wagons on track 4. The Ivatt is still suspicious. The small diesel, accompanied by Steve Irvan, finally arrives in Salisbury. The small diesel rolls up to the yard goat and asks, "Are you the yard goat?" The yard goat says yes. The small diesel is mesmerized. Dippity is making his rounds when he is flagged down by the CSX SD7, who claims to have found a clue, a sausage casing boxcar. Dippity doesn't get it. The SD7 asks how Dippity ever got into law enforcement without ever having read Sherlock Holmes and the Case of the Suspicious Sausage. The small diesel is mesmerized by the turntable. Sketty Hall departs with a southbound goods train. The Ivatt Mogul just knows the Great Western engine did something, but doesn't know what. Lion is slowly pushing the gondola full of her coal wagons up the grade on Rattlesnake Mountain. If she keeps up this pace, she'll make it back to Salisbury next Tuesday. The L1 arrives safely in Ye Old Fortress, but has a feeling something is close behind. The APT-E zips through town and up the loops. The London Underground Class 20 diesel emerges from the trolley line tunnels and announces that the tunnels are fully repaired. Spot wonders how no one collided with that diesel while the tunnels remained in use all this time. The Class 20 sees that the small diesel has a London Metropolitan wagon that has been missing for quite a while. The Class 20 demands the return of the wagon. The small diesel takes off running. Chadson finds Bob in the grass. He warns Bob not to whiz on the fire hydrants. The J50 comes back into Salisbury. Herr Brandmeister wants a word with the J50, who is heading back up the mountain. City of Bath, feeling better and deciding to get out and about, backs onto the turntable. Flying Scotsman, somewhat under the influence of the special water, starts on about how there's no way this engine could have been the first to reach 100 miles per hour. Scotsman continues by saying, "Your design must have come about when the Swindon Works cats got sick on the drawing boards, you absolute pilchard. I would imagine you believe chocolate chips don't belong in biscuits." City of Bath calmly tells Scotsman that he seems to be confusing him with City of Truro, one of his classmates. Scotsman says, "Oh, never mind then." The APT-E comes off the mountain and slips back into the yard, concluding the test runs. The L1 follows behind, hoping that the game of red light, green light is finally over. Going out with a bang, but this is ridiculous.